and I will show you where you can get a copy of this recording. Okay, so let me first of all also open up my camera here. And so you can put a face to a name. So again, let me welcome you all to class. My name is John Meredith. I'm one of the education team members here at Sumo Logic. And as you can probably tell from my background, I am teaching out of my home, which is up in New England, up in New Hampshire, specifically in the town of Bedford. And this is typically where I work from when I'm doing virtual classes. And of course, hopefully here in the next year or so, we'll get back to traveling. And so hopefully I'll get a chance to see you all face to face at some point. But our focus today, our conversation today is on metric workshop. And I'll be honest with you, the reason that this metric workshop was established is two reasons. Number one, when we had our metric classic interface, our customers gave us feedback and said, you know, Sumo, it's just too complicated. So we sent our developers back to the developer rooms to rebuild and restructure and all that stuff. And they came up with a new interface. And I think you're going to find this new interface is pretty easy and pretty straightforward to use. So I think when it comes time to do metric queries, you're going to find that new metric interface really, really powerful. That's one. The second thing is that, quite frankly, a lot of our customers who use us for logs and other things, when you buy Sumo Logic, you know, you get charged by how much data you ingest and all that stuff. With that charge comes a number of free, we call data points per minute, which are basically metrics. And what happens is a lot of our customers are not using near the allotted metrics that they have. And so this is certainly an area that we at Sumo can see we can obviously try to help you use your product more effectively. And so that's the reason for this workshop. Okay. For those of you not aware, we're doing this workshop twice today. We're doing it now, and then we're also doing it a little later this evening. Specifically, let me see if I can give you a time here. We're going to do it in about 8 hours. I'm sorry, correction, make that 9 hours from now. So we'll be doing this class again. And so in case you want to attend the evening session, you can register for that as well. Okay. So somebody asked if I live in Bedford Falls. When I think of Bedford Falls, by the way, Benny, I think of the retirement home there by Copper Door. So, but I live in the town of Bedford, like I said, just outside of Manchester. So that's basically where I'm at. Okay. The only thing I have to ask, the only I've request of you all is if you've got questions, please ask your questions. Okay. As somebody who's been doing training for a long time, and I started way back in 1983 as a Navy instructor, back when I was in the US Navy, is I've learned that if you've got a question, you're going to help three groups of people out. First of all, you're going to ask your question. Hopefully I can answer it, and therefore you win. But also you help the instructor out. So your questions help us calibrate what's important to you. And then lastly, you typically help the rest of the room out because you'll ask a question, somebody will get to think and say, oh, gee, I wanted to ask that same question, or I've got a similar question. And so before you know it, we've covered this in a very real and interactive way. This is why I have enabled your microphones. And I see I've got a few more folks who've joined. So let me go in here and enable the rest of the microphones here. But again, feel free to ask your questions. That is what this is all about. And again, I'm not sure what you know about Sumo Logic or the company or anything like that, but if you don't know anybody at Sumo Logic, you now know one person. You know me, and I am as much a Sumo as anybody else. And occasionally I get down to Redwood City, which is where our headquarters is in California, out of the Bay Area, and dock up with a mothership. So that's that. So let me stop my streaming video, save a little bandwidth here, and let's go ahead and get this party started. Our agenda, we're going to talk about what is a metric, why do I care? We'll do a little demonstration on basic metric queries and talk a little bit about the data flow. How does the metrics get into Sumo Logic? Then we'll talk about analyzing metrics and benefiting from our apps. We have close to 200 applications that you can install out of the box that have built-in dashboards that consume metrics and show you those metrics. And we're going to show you two of them and show you a little story of what they can do for you, how they can benefit you, the value that they provide for you. Okay. So, and then we're going to talk about unified alerting. Then we'll kind of wrap it up. So this is scheduled to run about an hour. It may run a little less. It may run on time. But it's designed to give us a conversation point about metrics. Okay. So a little basics here. What is a metric? Well, a metric is a data point in time, measures some value. So it's numeric, right? What is my CPU utilization? What is my computer's temperature? What is my disk drive capacity? Some numeric value over as a function of time. So typically, if we look on the x-axis here, we'll see some measurement of time, and then we'll see some value represent our actual metric values in the form of our y-axis, typically. Now, again, you can think of metrics, as our kids are growing up, right? Maybe we measure the height of our child every 6 months, right? So again, it's something that you typically want to do, that you want to keep track of, because you're not worried about today's data point, but you're worried about a trend over time, right? Most of you who've been in IT and technology like me, you're supposed to baseline your environments when they first get stood up, just to see how they're doing, right? What's their CPU utilization? What's their disk drive activity? That sort of thing. And probably with a new computer, a new system, even a new AWS environment, it's running great. It's not a problem. It's running well and all that stuff. 5 years later, when you install additional applications and do other things, then it starts slowing down. And so you can compare the baseline with what you have. So again, we want to track our key performance indicators, our KPIs over time, to gain visibility into various performances, whether it's application performance or it's system performance. We want to obviously understand if an outage has occurred, and we'll talk about that. We talk about creating monitors and alerts, and then determine why an event has occurred. So you'll find that metrics will typically tell us what is going on with our environments. And then those metrics can point us back to logs, and logs will typically tell us why it is happening. So these two become integral components of overall observability. And how is my system doing? How is my environment doing? Again, we measure metrics as something called the data points per minute, DPMs. And you'll find that if you do like a log to metric and you create a log to metric, you'll see that you can see how many DPMs your account has and how many you have available to you. And if you do a log to metric, it tells you what the amount of DPMs that you're creating. Again, as I see here in bold, most of our customers do not come close to using all of their available DPMs. This is an area that our customers underutilize, which is why this workshop was created. Okay, trying to help you out. Okay. A couple of interesting things about metrics. When we ingest metrics and when we retain them, we don't ingest any metric that's more than a week old. So obviously, when we ingest a metric, we ingest some sort of time frame, right? Time stamp or something like that. If it's more than a week old, we will not ingest it. Simple, pure and simple. Now, once we ingest it, we'll take that raw metric, and we may get that metric every 10 seconds. We may get that metric every minute. We may get that metric every 15 seconds, whatever. We will take that metric in its raw value and we'll retain it for 7 days. And as we get that metric, we will then roll up at 1 minute and 1 hour intervals, where we'll calculate and do a min, a max, a count, a sum, an average for each of those metrics at 1 minute and 1 hour intervals. We'll retain the 1 minute intervals for 30 days. So you can go back and look at your metrics within a minute and see how they're doing. And then we retain the 1 hour resolution for 13 months. So this is a really nice way to see how my system is performing over a period of time. Now, if you want a larger retention period, you can send it out to like an S3 bucket or some other source, and then we can bring that data back in here and review it if we need to. But typically, if you're looking at metrics, you're really looking at what's going on over the last year. Beyond that, the world has drastically changed, right? Maybe you've got different environments. You certainly have larger applications, different applications. And so, within a year, it probably makes sense. With larger than a year, may or may not make sense. Depends on how things work. In Sumo Logic, in order to do Sumo Logic, we got 3 basic phases here. So our first basic phase is our data collection phase. This is where we set up things like collectors. Now, if you're on the cloud, those collectors are already there. They're hosted by us. You don't have to worry about them. You don't have to install anything. They're there. If you've got a bunch of on-prem equipment or you've got some hosts that you want to grab the data from, you will install a collector. Our collectors come in various operating system flavors, right? Windows, Unix, Linux, Mac, that sort of thing. And what these collectors do is they will grab the data, they will encrypt the data, they will compress the data, and they will send the data to Sumo Logic. So you can think of these collectors as the highway that transfers the data to Sumo Logic. And that's what they do. Now, the collectors are the highway. What is the data? The data are my sources. So We think about various log sources, like maybe you're running Apache web servers or IIS web servers, but maybe we want to grab our CloudTrail data from our AWS environment. All right, we want, obviously, the focus of this workshop is metric data. So I could get my CloudTrail metric data. I could get my Kubernetes metric data. These are all sources that we might have. I could get my host metric data from a host if I want to. So my sources are my individual sources of data, and metric data would be one of those types of sources. Multitude of sources. Again, I can get it from Kubernetes, my metric data. I can get it from CloudTrail. I can get it from a system, your host metrics, all kinds of neat stuff. Now, once I have my data, once I have my data inside, let me bear with me a second, folks. Let me kill my little mouse there, as my mouse is giving me some problems there. Once I've got my data coming into Sumo Logic, then I can search and analyze, okay? I can write metric queries, and obviously our focus here is on metric queries. Now we've got log queries that you can run or metric queries, but we're going to run some metric queries and see how our metrics are behaving. And we can use a bunch of operators, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I can build visualizations, right? Charts, pie charts, line charts, area charts, all kinds of different charts to display the behaviors of my metric. And you'll see that in just a few minutes. We can also visualize and monitor. So now that we've got these charts and these queries they're showing us, we can build dashboards with that information. So I can take and build a query, take that query, put it to a dashboard. Go build another query, put it to that dashboard, that same dashboard. I can also create alerts in our visualizing and monitoring. So in this workshop here, we're going to really focus on areas 2 and 3. Again, area 1, where we talk about data collection, if you do want to learn how to set up collectors and sources, you'll find that we've got an administration class that teaches that quite well. Also, a regular 3-hour metric mastery class, you will install collectors and you will install a metric host source to get your metrics off of your computer or some system somewhere. So that's basically where we do this and how we break it out. Now, as I mentioned, we got a whole host of metric operators, and there's even a hyperlink here that I'm going to go ahead and click on. That hyperlink takes us to our documentation, our product documentation. In fact, if you ever want to go to our product documentation, it's real simple. help.sumologic.com. Help.sumologic.com takes you and takes me and gives us all the information about Sumo Logic. And for example, for those of you into the Cloud Sim Enterprise, there's information there. We are into metrics, so here's our information for metrics. And of course, I could go into the specific chapter, the metrics chapter or the search chapter or whatever I want, or I can just search for something. So I can search for metric operators, and lo and behold, here are the metric operators. Give me a second here. Here's the link. Here are the metric operators that we use for metrics. And I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to copy it and put it in the chat box for you, just so you all have it. So you can go to this link today, tomorrow, next week, and you can see this information. We have also created a metric cheat sheet in PDF that you can print out and put next to your computer that shows you these various functions and how to use them and all that good stuff. So just wanted to make you aware of all that wonderful stuff. So this is all part of our documentation. Anything to do with our metrics, like I said, is in the metric chapter, pure and simple. Now, one other thing I do want to take you while I'm here, and that is I'm going to take you out to our community. So if I type in support.sumologic.com, that's support.sumologic.com, that will take us to our support area. And under our support area, there's a link to the community. And if I click on the community, this is where we, our customers, our partners, our community interact. So for example, if you want to see what future ideas and enhancements we have, there's an ideas link that you can click on, and you can actually vote on future enhancements, ideas, suggestions that I've put in here. So this is a community where we want your feedback. We want your votes. We want your thoughts. We want your valuable insight. Because obviously we're not doing this for ourselves. We're doing it for our customers. We're doing it for you. So please let us know. Now, back to my community. If I do a search for the word slides, S-L-I-D-E-S, you'll see that I get 2 returns here. This first one, training and certification, lab, webinars, and slides. Here we have all of our courses and links to the labs, links to the webinar recording, and links to our slides for all of our certification courses. And we also have our workshops in here. And I am here to tell you that within the next week, you will see the metric workshop added here with a link to our slides, a link to this recording, as well as a link to the handout that I'm about to provide you with. So this is a handy place to listen to courses, look through the labs, see various things. If you want to know more about metrics, there's this metric certification class that either you can take, or quite frankly, you can listen to the recording, look at the slides, do the labs, knock yourself out, have fun. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that to you. All right, back to my slides here. So what I want to do is, one of the things that we've done with this product, metric product, is we've made it easy to try to create queries. Because remember, one of the things I mentioned, one of the feedback pieces we got was the older interface was too complicated. This interface, I think you're going to find, is much simpler. We're going to use a combination of key value pairs. And so I can select the metric that I want by typing ahead. And it, for example, as I type in the C, it shows me all the things that start with C, and then I can select what I want. And then if I want to filter by something, I can pick the values. I'll see a drop down that shows me all the different values that I can pick. If I want to add an operator, there's this plus sign there to be able to do that. So we've really simplified the interface. Now, for those of you familiar with the advanced mode or the more complicated interface, you can easily jump to that by clicking on these three dots over in the corner. These three dots we refer to as the more action button. But if you click on this interface and the more action button, you'll see you have an option to switch it to the advanced query mode. So, and you're going to see that in just a few minutes, because I'm going to actually have you guys log in and we're going to play. Okay, so let's play. So the first thing I'd like you to do is First thing I'd like to do is I'd like to share up a document with you. So bear with me a second while I upload that document to the chat box. And again, hopefully you guys can all access this document that's in the chat box. But if you can't, I will typically take the code and the information and I'll copy it to the chat box in case you need it. But that document is up there now. Additionally, in the chat box, I'm going to take this information right here and I am going to copy it to the chat box. And basically what this information is asking you to do is, number one, fire up a Google Chrome or Firefox browser. Take Google Chrome or Firefox, fire it up. Those browsers work best. And for the URL, type in service.sumologic.com. That's service.sumologic.com. And when you go to service.sumologic.com, it should take you to something that looks like this. Okay. And then what I want you to do is I want you to grab a 3-digit number. Okay. Anywhere from 001 to 999. So if you're a James Bond fan, maybe you'll grab 007. If you're like me up in New Hampshire, maybe you'll grab 603 because that's our area code for the entire state. You know, pick any 3-digit number that you want. And if you would, type it in the chat box, just so I know that we don't have a whole lot of overlap. So Bob's grabbing 777. Okay. And folks are typing in their numbers. That's great. Thank you very much. I would recommend you try to stay away from the higher numbers. I have found recently in the last couple of days that people grab 999 or 990. They have problems. So I would recommend you stay probably 800 or below. Okay. But thank you all for typing that information in. Okay. And then what you're going to do is take that 3-digit number and you're going to log in as training plus analyst with that 3-digit number. So I'm going to grab 603 here. And then the password is, nope, that's the old password. That's an old password. So the current password is capital SUMO, capital SUMMER, numeral 2, numeral 1, exclamation mark. So the current password for July is Sumo Summer 21, exclamation mark. And if you want to play with our training environment come August, right? Because they're going to change the password the first Monday in August. And you want to know what the new password is, I'm going to put my contact information so you can ask me. Okay. So there's my email address. So if you want to reach out come August or September and ask me what the current password is, I'll tell you. This is an open environment where you and I and others can play, okay? So when you do type in the training plus analyst, whatever number at sumologic.com with this password and click sign in, it should let you in. Now, when it lets you in, you may have a whole bunch of tabs open here. This thing may be open. We'll talk about that in just a second. My first concern is I want to make sure you guys all get a chance to get in. So if you're having a problem getting in, please let me know. If you need me to explain things again, that's fine. I will gladly do that.
If I'm not able to get in for some reason, doing training plus labs 299.
But no, not training plus labs, training plus analyst.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
That's what
Easy mistake to make.
Hey, hi, this is Vilas here. For some reason, I cannot open that link,
Sorry,
service.sumologic.com.
I'm sorry, some reason you can't do what?
I cannot open the link, the service.sumologic.com. It's not opening for me.
Okay.
Reason.
Are you in your own environment for chance? Your own Sumo Logic environment, your company's Sumo Logic environment?
No, maybe I can just log out to.
My point is you may be able to log out or try to do an incognito tab.
Sure.
Because you can't be logged into two different environments. I'm sorry, two different environments with different credentials in the same browser session. So
I will give it a try. Thanks. Yep.
Thanks, no problem. Yep. So it looks like folks are getting in.
John, I'm not able to log in.
Okay. What are you using for a username?
952, the user plus analyst 952.
Okay. Training plus analyst, right?
Or training plus analyst, excuse me.
There you go. Try a different number.
Okay.
Try something in the 800s or the try 603 if you want. I'm not going to use this one. So. I found that for some reason when they think they did password updates or whatever, for some reason our higher numbers are having problems. Higher numbers are probably 900 and above. So, all right. So anybody else having problems here? I'm going to log in with my Sumo account. And if you don't mind, let me do this. If you all would, if you're all logged in and you're able to access things, would you please raise your hand? So down at the bottom, there should be a little icon that lets you raise your hand. Also, I am going to make sure everybody has the ability to talk because I see a couple of folks who've joined us here and they don't have their microphones enabled. So this way you can ask your questions directly and we can go from there. So again, what I'd like you to do is if you're able to log in, go ahead and raise your hand. Let me know that you're in successfully and we'll basically go from there. If you're having problems, let me know. Okay, that's really the question. If you're having issues, I need to know so I can try to help you out. And by the way, if you're you want to do this all of a sudden work got in the way, you got a crisis project and you have to step away. I understand that. So I'm not expecting 100% participation in the raise hand department. I'm, far too old and experienced for that sort of thing. I know how life works. So looks like everybody who wants to get in is in. So let me go ahead and lower the hands. So the hands are all lowered. Thank you very much for that. And when I log in here, like I said, I may have a bunch of tabs open, and just for fun here, I'll just open up a couple tabs here just to show you how you can close that stuff down if you want to. If you got a bunch of tabs open, on any one of the tabs, again, there's these three vertical dots. Arancha, you've got your hand up. Is that to tell me that you're logged in, or is that to tell me that you've got a question? Okay, cool. Thank you. And I apologize if I mispronounced somebody's name. So if you got a bunch of tabs here open, you can obviously close them all up individually, but more importantly, you can grab this vertical dot button here, and you can say close all tabs, and that closes all the tabs. And then over here on the left, this is the navigation panel. The navigation panel may be open like it is here, or I can close it. If I want it open and I need it open or whatever, I can click on Sumo Logic and click on this hamburger menu and it opens right up. And if I need to close it, I can click on this left turn signal and I close it. So the interface is pretty simple. And again, if we had more time, I'd probably go into a little bit more of it for you. Now, what we want to do is we want to create a new metric query. So I can either click on this metric icon right here, or I can click on this new blue button and I can click metric icon there, either one. I can also do an Alt M from your keyboard. And this brings up my metric explorer. This is our new interface for metrics, okay? And when you bring up your metric explorer, you may see it in one of two ways. You'll see the word metrics here. You'll see metric and then an underline, filter underline, and this is kind of grayed out. Or you may see, if you're in advanced mode, it says enter a metric query. Now, if you see that enter a metric query, I need to go over here to the far right, grab this more action button, and switch it back to basic mode. Switch it back to basic mode so that we're looking at this basic interface. So basically what we're trying to show you here, and this is what they retooled for us. This is what our development team retooled for us, a much simpler and cleaner interface. So hopefully you're all here. You're all able to create a new metric. Again, that's new metric. And then again, I want to make sure that you're seeing metric with a bunch of underscore, filter, underscore, you're in this interface. Any problems or questions here before we get started? So the first thing I want to do is a simple demo. I want to show you how we can query for a metric, okay? So my metric here, if I click on there, you'll see I got a long laundry list of all kinds of metrics that I can use, quite a long laundry list, but I can also start typing. So if I start typing in CPU, and then I see everything starts with CPU. And I'm going to grab CPU load average 15 minutes. So I'm going to select that particular metric. And you'll notice that where it says filters here, I can filter it, but I'm not going to filter it for right now. I'm going to let that go. So I'm going to click away, kind of click on this line somewhere so that goes away. And what I see here in my preview table are 456 things that I have metrics for, right? They all have maybe different regions, maybe they're in different namespaces, maybe they're different instances, whatever. And if I want to here, I can click on the chart tab and it immediately shows me a chart, a line chart here of all of my various metrics. Now, one of the other things our developers did was they wanted to make it easy to graph your metrics in a lot of different ways. So I have a line chart here. If I want to use that, I can turn this into a column chart if I want to do that. I can go and build a pie chart here. I can build a honeycomb chart, shows me a series of honeycombs. And in these honeycombs, as with most things, I can conditionally format them so that if we're talking about CPU utilization or load average, if it's 90 or better, probably want to put it in the red. If it's 70 to 90, it's green, yellow, and anything below 70 is probably in the green. So you and I can do that. So we've made this very easy, I think, for you and I to see this data. Now, obviously, I'm looking at a lot of data here. And what I want to do is I want to filter it down. So if I go back to my preview table, again, we had 456 records, 456 entities that we're seeing here. And I really want to get it down to like one or two. So here it says filter, I can say, you know what, I want to look maybe by source category. Source category is a metadata tag that we use to indicate where is this source coming from. And if I look at source category equals host metric /JWM, if I click on that, you'll now see I am looking at one individual record. I'm looking at my host metric, my CPU load average on my Macintosh that I'm teaching this class from. So I can filter it for a single value if I want to, or I can filter it for, multiple single values if I want to, pretty simple type stuff. Now, what also I can do is, besides, if I go back and remove that one filter, so I'm not looking at the single machine, I can also add an operator here that says, I want to see the average of these. So again, this will reduce it down to one single value, showing me my average. Now I can see average regardless, or I could say, you know what, I want to see average by, let's do it by source host. And now it's showing me the average by my different source hosts down here. Now, one other thing that I can do, and down this legend, is I can turn on or turn off and filter various data points if I need to. So this legend is active, and we actually add this to a dashboard this legend becomes available and part of the environment so that you can control what you see in that dashboard or here by clicking on these various legends. So I think you'll find the legends particularly powerful. So my goal here was to simply show you how we can see various information. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to modify this just a little bit. And what I want to do here is I'm going to get rid of the source host. I'm just going to hit the little X box in the corner. So here I'm looking at my average load of my systems. And then if I want to here, I can add another query over here to the far right. There's a plus button. I'm going to click plus. And I'm also going to grab that CPU load average 15 minutes again. And here I want to see by source category, and I want to see my host. So what this is showing me the average compared to my host. So I can see that I'm running below average. Okay. Again, nice to know. I'm on a Mac, not a big deal. I'm certainly not at 2% here. It's my CPU load time. I'm certainly not causing any strain. Okay. And again, I'm not like I'm a server, I'm a cloud environment that's, processing web server information, database server information, things that have a serious load. Okay. My computer. So, but again, you can see how easy, I hope, how quick you can, we can create queries that kind of tell us perhaps what we want to know. Any questions so far? All right. Let's go back here and let me go back to my slides for just a second. And let's talk a little bit about looking and doing things through apps. Because what an app is, these are predefined queries and dashboards that you can use with queries that they're already pre-built for you. And hopefully they're going to answer anywhere from 70 to 90% of your questions and your needs right out of the box. And then you can tweak them a little bit if you need to. So let's talk about these apps. Now, as I said, we have close to 200 applications dealing with things like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform, Kubernetes, Docker, all kinds of things. And these apps typically, like I said, are written regardless of your infrastructure, whether you're running on regular machines or some sort of a cloud environment. They deal with microservices platforms. So again, Kubernetes, I want to see if things get spawned off, spawned out, how long it's taking, things like that. Docker as well. I can also look at my various application components, whether they're web servers, database servers, whatever. Typically I want to make sure that my systems are running properly and they're not running too hot and things along those lines. Because if they are running too hot and they're on the cloud, hopefully another system gets spawned up automatically and relieves that system of, relieves some of the pressure on that system. If they're not an automatic system, I don't have Kubernetes, then I need to start thinking about spinning up another system. So we're going to talk about these applications. And again, we're talking about host metrics. Now, the predominant use case is typically infrastructure, right? My CPU utilization, my memory utilization, stuff like that. So you're going to find that with metrics, we can see all that good stuff and see our various CPU utilization, memory utilization, et cetera, and we can then investigate if there's problems. Now, as I mentioned before, typically our metrics tell us what is going on, and our logs will typically tell us why it is happening. But in order to provide observability solutions that you and I and others can use, right, we need to be able to provide that information so it's very easy and palatable for you. So what I want to do is I want to go through two examples. I'm going to go through this metric app, this processing metric app, and walk you through that. Then I'm going to go through a MySQL app, and we're going to use this to understand what's happening. We're going to use this to troubleshoot, all that good stuff. So what I'd like to do, if you would, follow along with me. Again, it's in your, it's in that PDF document. But here in that PDF document, by the way, here is that PDF document. So I did the metric demo already. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the host and process metric app. So in the host and process metric app, I want you and I to go into Sumo Logic. I want to go into the navigation pane. Again, if you need to open the navigation pane, you click on where it says Sumo Logic or the hamburger menu, it opens it right up. The library is the shared area that you and I and others can see. And if I go in here, I see that there is a folder called host and process metrics. Joe, is there a question?
Sorry, John, I just accidentally clicked on it.
No problem. Somebody asked, where do we download the PDF file? That's a good question. Should have been in the chat box, but if you came in late, it's probably not there. So let me give you that PDF file again. Let me upload it one more time. And I appreciate you asking the question, Angela. Thank you very much. So it's now in the chat box. You should be able to download that PDF document. And so that's there for you. So what I want to do again is in this exercise, in this activity, I want us to go open the navigation pane by clicking on the hamburger menu or Sumo Logic. So it's open like this. I want you to click on the library area, which is the common area that you and I and others can see. And I want you to find the host and process metrics. And if you open up that folder, you'll see that I got a bunch of dashboards underneath that. Okay. Okay. No problem. I just shared it, but I'll share it again here real quick. Just bear with me. So again, I'm posting up the PDF document in case anybody else has missed it. There it is. It's just been posted up. So help yourself. Okay. So, okay. Yeah. All right. One more time. Okay. Interesting. A lot of folks don't see the PDF. You don't see it in the chat box?
No, I'm not seeing it either.
Okay. I'm wondering if there's something in your company that's preventing you guys from getting seeing that. I don't know. You should be able to. Okay. I just posted up now a couple. Oh, hang on. Let me check one thing. Hold on. No, I did send it to panelists and attendees. So you all should get this. You all should get this. Okay. Some folks have gotten it. Some folks don't. No problem. No problem. And I understand people are late and you know, work, the darn work day job gets in the way. I certainly sympathize with you. So you should see it. The bottom of your screen, there should be a button there in the chat for you to be able to download it. Now, if you don't get that PDF, it's not a big deal. Okay. Earlier I showed you all in the community. And again, just for those of you who came in late, if you go to a browser tab and you type in support.sumologic.com, it will take you to our support area. And under a support area, there's a community area. And here in community, if you do a search for slides, SLIDES, you'll find that we have all of our courses, all of our workshops here, where we have a link to our recordings, our slides. Any PDF handouts will be here as well, but we don't have the metric workshop here. That will get resolved within the next week. So next week, if you came out here, you'd be able to see this PDF document. You'd be able to see this recording of this class, or maybe my recording this afternoon. And then you'll also be able to see a link to the slides. So we do try to make this easy for you if you're, having problems with the content. Okay. Okay. A couple of you are able to see it. Some of you are not. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that. But let me get back on track if you don't mind. So what I want you all to do, if you've all logged in, and again, the login credentials were provided earlier. If you need me to put that in here again, I will put it in. Basically, what I want you to do is fire up a Google Chrome or Firefox browser. And I want you to type in service.sumologic.com. And I want you to pick a 3-digit number, anywhere from 001 to 999. And when you get to that service.sumologic.com, it asks you for two things. It asks you for an email address. And I want you to take that 3-digit number and I want you to append it to Training Plus Analyst. So you'd log in as Training Plus Analyst with that 3-digit number at sumologic.com. That's your email. And the password is a capital SUMO, capital SUMMER, numeral 2, numeral 1, exclamation mark. Okay. Now, if you log in here and if you go into this navigation panel, again, if you go into this navigation panel in the library section here, you will see that there's a host and process metric. And under this host and process metric app, this is an app that we created. In fact, let me go back here and mention here on our app catalog. Here are up to 200 applications that we have dealing with a whole host of different things: compliance and security, IT infrastructure, security, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can also search for things if you want to. Now, this host and process metric app, like I said, I've taken it, I've installed it. And now I want to look at my process metric overview. So I want to show you how you can use these apps. So if I click under my host and process metric folder, and if I look at my process metric overview app, you'll see here my overview that my CPU usage is high. It's about 85%, quite a bit high. I want to see what's taking up a lot of that load. So if I want to here, I can click on this one honeycomb in the upper left-hand corner. That brings up this little sidebar page. And from here, I can click on this link. So I'm going and looking at my processes, my CPU utilization, realizing it's high. Then I can go to this link dashboard. This link dashboard now shows me my various process details and my read bytes and my write bytes and all that good stuff. But up here, I can see my different applications as far as what is showing me different things. Hang on a second. You change the filter here a little bit. I'm not sure how these filters got set. They should not have been. Okay. So when I went here, I should be able to see all of my processes. So here's my CPU usage. And here, these processes are running pretty normal, 15%, 10%, 1.2%. This one up here, which is my payment app specific ID, is running hot. Okay. And so what I want to do is I want to investigate this app a bit more. Okay. I want to see what users are running this app and why they're running it. So if I want to here, I can click on this and that brings up my panel over here to the side. And why do I not have a linked dashboard? I should have a linked dashboard. I did this morning. Hang on a second. Interesting. Tell you what, let me just change the process name here to payment. Payment app monitor. Okay. And the bottom line is that I can see, again, this is my payment app monitor. I can see it, I like my tooltip. Down here in my process details, I can see that John, the user, not me, but another John, was running this app, and that's what's causing the strain, if you will, on my CPU utilization. So here we have a combination of metric information with a combination of log information that I can see the activity of what's happening. Then I can go back to this user, say, what are you running this for? Why are you running this? Why is it running hot? I can investigate that specific application a bit more. Okay, so that's just one use case here on how we can use these built-in applications to help us. Now, I've got another application to play with. So I'm going to go back into our navigation panel. I'm going to close up this host and process metric. I'm going to look for a folder called Metric Workshop. And under Metric Workshop, I have a MySQL workshop that I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to click on MySQL Overview. So here in MySQL Overview, and if you're following along in the PDF, those of you who can, I'm now playing with a MySQL app, okay? So here in the MySQL app, I see a whole bunch of metric information. Server uptime, I've been up for a little less than a day, right? I haven't been up that long. I've got 19 errors. I've got 18 replication errors. I got 8,000, almost 8,000 failed logins. Oh, that's scary. Connection errors. What I want to focus on here is I want to look at my excessively slow queries. So I want to look at my excessively slow queries. And if I click on this, hang on, I'm not sure why that little box went that way. It shouldn't. Bear with me. Something has happened to this poor application. There we go. I'm going to click outside the box. Yeah, again, that side panel should show up. It was showing up a little while ago this morning. I'll actually go back up here. See if I can get it to get any of these links to work. Okay. There we go. So here I can see my server uptime and I can see more information about my performance and resource monitors. But in my case, what I want to do is I want to jump to the linked dashboard that has my excessively slow queries in. So again, if I go in here to my metric workshop, my SQL workshop, if I go in here to my metrics, I should see, so I'll go to this performance and metric resource area here. So again, I can see some of my metric information. I can see if I've, hang on. Interesting. Okay. There's what I'm looking for. Okay. Let me go back and do this one again. So if I go into my SQL workshop, I should be able to click on my SQL overview. Okay. Again, I see an area that I want to focus on, my query area, my excessively slow queries here if I want to. And I should be able to click on this. And I'm not sure why this is showing up. There's an issue here. But this should then take me to my slow queries. And if I go to my slow queries, this takes me to that dashboard. And here I can now see the top 5 or top IP address firing slow queries, the top users who are running slow queries, because let's face it, if users are creating queries, some of them might be running slow queries because they weren't designed particularly well. I can see my slow queries by command type. And here I can see my top 10 slowest query based on execution time. So my point is that I can go in, you can go in, we can go into these dashboards at a very high level area, pick an area that we want to focus on. And in my case, I chose excessively slow queries. Then I can go into and investigate this further and ultimately see which queries are running slow so that I can then work with my development team to improve their performance. So again, this is all built out of the box. There's nothing you have to do. If you're running MySQL, you can install this application on your own, and you can and just tie it to your data, your MySQL data, whatever you called your MySQL data, and you're good to go. So here in my app catalog, like I said, if I wanted to, I do a search. Here's that MySQL app. Here's my host and process metric application that you can use. And so that was the conversation I wanted to have. I'm sorry that was a little gritty. I do apologize for that, but hopefully we got there. The last conversation I want to have with you with the 10 minutes we have left is I want to talk about alerting. I want to talk about how we can use metrics to alert and how we can, have metrics to see things. And there's 2 ways I can do alerting. One, I can go into my alerts and I can create an alert, a metric alert. Or 2, I can take an existing metric alert and send it to my monitors or for my alerts. So I'll show you both ways. Here in Sumo Logic, again, in my navigation panel, down here is my main menu with a bunch of commands. My app catalog, manage data. And if I click on manage data, you'll see there's a section called alerts. And here I can, you can, we can have a wide variety of alerts. And these are the various alerts that we've currently created. And I can see the status of these alerts: normal, critical, or I think I've got one here that's got warning. Okay. But if I want to add an alert to this, I can then add a new monitor. And when I add a new monitor, it brings up this interface. So I can either choose to make this a log alert based on logs, log data, or a metric alert based on metric data. And again, I can do something like CPU, load average 15 minutes, source category equals, and source category equals. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself there. Try this again. Source category equals, there we go. There's my computer. So based on my computer average CPU to load average for 15 minutes, I can say, I want you to create an alert when I'm missing data. When this machine is down, I want you to tell me, okay? So maybe this is a critical machine. Maybe it's a server, right? I want to make sure it's up 24/7. If it's down, I want to be notified. And I'll talk about notification in just a second. Also, if the alert level gets better or worse than a certain amount, normally in the case of a CPU, maybe I want to warn myself at maybe 80% or something like that. This one only gets as high as maybe, 2.5%. So again, to make it more meaningful here, I'm going to say, gee, I want you to warn me at 2%. Okay. So anything under 2% is in the green, anything above 2% is in the yellow. It's a warning area. Also, not only do I want to be notified when you have an alert, also when we recover. And I can allow the recovery threshold to be the same as my alert threshold, or I can change it if I want to. And then, of course, I can also set a critical level. So here, if it gets above 2.5, I will call that a critical situation. Now, in reality, in the case of a real server, I'd probably make it maybe about above 90 or 85 or something like that. So I define my criteria. So up here, I define my query. Down here, I define my criteria. Next, I say, how do I want to notify you? Do I want to notify you via email? Do I want to create various alerts through Datadog or other products? Do I want to use APIs and send a Slack alert? What do I want to do here? Do I want to send things out to PagerDuty? Lots of different ways we can go here, okay? Lots of different ways we can communicate. I'm going to say I want to create an email, okay? Who do I want that email to go to? My network operations team. I want it to go to me. What? Where do I want this to go? See, there's a question in the chat box. Just give me a second. I'll get there. And then here I've got some dynamic fields and static fields that I can use. And here's a bunch more dynamic fields that I can use. So this tells me the trigger type. Was it based on missing data recovered, warning recovered, critical recovered, what? I can type in a message here if I want to. And so down here, I pick the conditions under which I want this email to fire. So let's see what we got here. Okay. Somebody can't get to where I am. Okay, I understand. You can't get to where I am. That's fine. Yep, I understand that. Bear with me, Johnny. I apologize. That's a privilege issue. We've just recently did an upgrade and we changed our privileges a little bit. So somebody pointed out, and it probably means that all of you can't get here. So let me discard this for a second. So you can't get into manage data alerts and you don't have the add button, I believe. That's the problem, okay? So you can't do that. But there's another way to do this. Okay, great. Thank you, Johnny, for confirming that. Another way to do this is here in my metrics. Here in my metrics, let me go ahead and get rid of this one metric here. So all I'm looking at is my metric. Over here on this, again, more action button within my metric query, I have the option to add this as a monitor. Johnny, I'm not sure if you and the others have this ability, but I can also take this query and I can add it as a monitor there. And this is another way that I can do that. So I suspect you guys don't have that. Okay, no problem. You guys don't have that. I'm going to get that fixed here before this afternoon session. Like I said, we just changed our permissions here a little bit, and they obviously affected that. So, all right. So, but we can create an alert based on our monitor, and we can have it notify us via PagerDuty or via email or via whatever. And additionally, if people can access the alerts area, they'll be able to see it here. And if you want to organize your alerts into folders, that's something else also that you can do, is you can encapsulate them in folders. So all my AWS certain regions are in a one folder, and my AWS other regions are in a different folder, that sort of thing. So the point is that we again try to show you here in the unified learning that you can, we can create alerts to tell us when we've got problems. And that was that demo. So to wrap this thing up, again, a couple things hopefully you realize is this new metric interface allows us to create powerful metrics very, very easily. Because like I said, one of the complaints we got earlier was that the old interface was too complicated. The other thing is we got a bunch of built-in applications that provide you insights onto your metrics and your logs as well. without having to write a bunch of queries. So that's pretty powerful. And then the third thing I hope you take away from this is that with unified alerting and metric alerts, it makes it very simple to be able to use and allows us to create an alert, realizing I've got to give you the permissions to be able to create that alert. So my apologies on that. We'll get that squared away here fairly quickly. If you want to know more about metrics, like I said, you can go to our documentation, help.sumologic.com, and find the metric chapter, and you can read up all about it. You'll also find that if you want to learn about our applications, you'll find that chapter 7 is all about our Sumo Logic apps. So again, you can go to our help.sumologic.com site and look up the Sumo Logic app chapter. You'll also find under YouTube, if you go to YouTube and do a search for Sumo Logic, we've got a whole bunch of videos on metrics and metric information and stuff like that. These are short little things that you can do, short little videos, 5 minutes or less, that you can watch to understand how metrics are created, how collectors are created, all of that good stuff. And of course, I would be remiss in my duties as a trainer here for Sumo Logic if I didn't mention that we typically offer regional virtual classes right now, as well as regular virtual classes. And so the logical class that you learn more about metrics here is this metric mastery class. It's a 3-hour class, and we try to pick times and add times to our schedule for Europe, the East Coast, the West Coast, Asia Pac, and also India. So we do try to pick friendly times for those types of classes. And of course, there's a whole host of other classes and certification things that you guys can take, okay? Angela asked an excellent question. Is there a class for writing queries as well? If we're talking about writing log queries, that would be the search mastery class, Angela. Okay. If we're talking about metric queries, that would be the metric mastery class. So the answer to your question, both. Also, for those of you who are focused on Kubernetes, or for those of you who are focused and want to write queries dealing with security, we've got a course for that as well. Okay. It's actually not called security and compliance anymore. I think it's called cloud security analytics or something like that. But you'll see it if you go out to our site. And again, I apologize if I am trying to make this sound like a commercial. I'm not. But if I go to sumologic.com/learn/training, here is where you can see all of our classes. These are the various search jams we're doing by geography, and you can see when these various classes are. So you can click on register and you can see when they're being offered. Okay. As we're getting close to the end of July, this is the July schedule. So, but just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that. Any questions or anything else I can do to help you and answer any questions that you all might have? Okay. Then let me thank you all for spending the last hour with me. And I appreciate all of your hard work and efforts. And if there's anything we can do to help you in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in class again real soon. Please be safe, stay cool, because it's really warm out there on the West Coast and other parts. So please be comfortable. And we hope to see you again in class real soon. Thanks a lot for coming. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, folks. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Problem.
Thank you, John.